Hey everybody, welcome to the DiskCast. My name is Shae. I am here with my good friend Discart, who the show is named after. And today, I have been delegated, or possibly relegated, the hosting duties. So that is why I'm doing the introduction today. If you've never seen me before, I am co-host of the podcast Bombers, which you can check out on your favorite podcast listening somethings. And here we are on YouTube. Here we are on video. Here I am looking at you in the face, and I'm like, wow, I have a lot of gray hairs when I look at myself on my webcam.
So many gray hairs. You're looking really old lately. I got to be honest, just so old.
We are both terrifyingly wrinkly and old. And I shaved my beard, and someone told me I look 10 years younger, and I'm like, do the gray hairs that you can see? I'm not sure if it would come across on the YouTube video, actually, because I'm not sure what resolution you're using, but they are all over the place. They are sparkling right now. I can see them very clearly.
Little salt and pepper never hurt anybody, except for you.
No,
you
the ladies
really
love.
Old.
Well, the ladies love a little salt and pepper. So,
so how's your week been so far?
How's my week? My week's been all right. How's your week? It's Sunday that we're recording, so I mean, the week hasn't even begun.
Oh, sleep's been hard. Sleep's been kind of a difficult thing lately because
you've
been
playing all that Elden Ring.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's it.
Exactly.
It's really it's a sleep taker, and like last night I was up till like 3 a.m., so I may seem a little bit tired, but I have to play Elden Ring, and there's nothing anyone could do about it. I beat the game. I finished the game.
But you don't have the platinum trophy yet, though. I
don't. I probably won't. I probably won't platinum it, just because I don't ever look at the trophies. It's just not my thing. I just want to play the game however I feel like playing the game, and part of that is actually I end up with a lot of trophies, but that's only through kind of the natural progression that I take through the game.
Do you not look at trophies just because you're not interested, or is it something that you feel as though is a detriment? The achievement point system has long been a topic of debate amongst people who like to play games. Is that, is this good for game development? Is this bad for the artistic process? Trying to shoehorn these things in there. There are the games with the really cheap, easy achievements. You play through the game, you get them all, or it's just like a stupidly easy game that you can just get all the achievements in like 5-10 minutes. What is your whole thoughts on that entire scene?
I think it's I don't think it's bad or good. I think it's just kind of in the middle. Like a lot of people enjoy collecting those things and getting those platinum trophies, these digital pictures of a trophy, and that adds to their game like a lot of gameplay. I think it also helps people to kind of like find the rest of the game sometimes. Like in the case of Elden Ring, I'm sure a lot of the bosses are trophies. That you can...
And a lot of those bosses are optional, right? Like you wouldn't normally know that they were there. You have to go seek them out. And, the trophies can be... Like for me, they've always been sort of a way to focus in on objectives. If I'm playing Bully and it's like, drop 100 bags of marbles on people while they're chasing you. It's like, well, okay, I'm probably not going to do that over the course of the game, but maybe this will encourage me to experiment a little bit more when I'm running away from like teachers or prefects or whoever is chasing me. So I do, and eventually I get the achievement, and I have more fun as a result of it because it's fun to drop bags of marbles and watch people trip and fall on them.
I think, like, if it's fun, that's good. I think some of them can be not fun and can be, like, grindy things. Like, if it's, like, a Monster Hunter game, it'd be, like, hunt this guy 300 times or something, and you're like, wow, you really... Like, I've done this fight so many times, and it's just cookie cutter, and I'm just bored with it. Like, why would I be spending my time to get... a trophy? But then other games do really fun, goofy things. Like, I can't really come up with an example, but there'll be some,
Yakuza has a bunch of those types of things where it's, there's already a bunch of crazy stuff to do in that world. You go sing karaoke, but one of the trophies in that game would be get 100, not 100%, get like an A rank or an S rank or something on like all of the songs, and so that you get to hear all of the songs when maybe you would have just gone in there and done it a couple of times and seen only a couple of crazy karaoke songs.
Yeah, I think it can push people, and I think it gives more gameplay to a game that maybe you would have been done with otherwise. But like I'm just I have so many games to play, and it's an embarrassment of riches nowadays in video games, in my opinion. I mean, people saying that there's no games, I don't know what world they live in. So I'm just, I play my game, then I move on to the next one and just keep going. Sometimes, like I think I've only gotten 2 platinums in my life, and it was like Horizon Zero Dawn. I platinumed it because I was like, I wanted so much more of that game, and I feel like that's where it really resonates with me to have those trophies, is because I was like, I just want more. Like, what did I miss? Elden Ring is probably a great example too, because they don't have like, a system showing you all the quests and all of these things. But on the PlayStation side, you do have that list of all those trophies. Even though a lot of them are hidden, you do have that list of things that you could be doing. So it kind of gives you that road that the game does not provide for you, which, is part of the artwork of the game, and that's a little bit more to get into. But
yeah, you want to talk hardcore game design and development now, or should we move on to talk about what we've been playing? You've been talking about Elden Ring. Have you played anything else?
Yes, I did play the demo for what is this game called?
Kirby and
Stranger
the
Paradise.
Wonderful Abandoned World. Stranger Paradise.
I have not played the Kirby demo.
It's good. It's pretty funny. Like the mouthful mode is everything I had no idea I wanted.
It's so that
good.
Game is like, I'm so in that like I don't even want to mess with the process of being in and play the demo.
I totally get
that.
We're like 2 weeks away from that, dude. We're 2 weeks away. Yeah. We'll both have our full thoughts on that thing. Whatever the first DiskCast we record after that game comes out, because I think we're both day one on that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be good.
Okay, so tell me about Stranger of Paradise. This is a Final Fantasy game, and I didn't realize that it was, because I saw the name Stranger of Paradise, and I was like, I don't know what that is. Like, it just wasn't ringing a bell. It's not something I keep up on, like upcoming Final Fantasy releases too much. So tell me about this game from Team Ninja, developed by Team Ninja, published by Square.
And somewhere Koei Tecmo's in there. I don't even know. Like, is Koei Tecmo helping develop it too? It would kind of make sense because they're very action gamey oriented as well.
Well, Team Ninja is a developer, is a division of Koei Tecmo.
Oh,
so well, that would be why.
The more you know. Boom. So all I know about this game is that it's kind of like Devil May Cry. That's pretty much it. There's some kind of, if you play the demo, there's some goofy moments and some funny music put in certain places, and I see a little bit of charm to it. So I'm really hoping that it comes through, but it's definitely not one that I would say people should be day one for, because it's just got too many things that could be going wrong with it. I would kind of wait for people that you trust to review it, or friends to play it and then get it. That's what I'm going to be doing. But I played the combat in it feels really good. It feels like Devil May Cry with some QTEs and other things in it, but yeah, pretty good. And I mean, the graphics aren't bad either, which is kind of incredible.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time you want to watch out for these, and I don't want to talk bad about Team Ninja or anything like that, but a lot of these Team Ninja games, I feel like you have to kind of wait a little bit to make sure it's going to be good. They've been on a little bit of a hit streak lately with the Neo and with Fire Emblem Warriors and Hyrule Warriors, but then the Dead or Alive games have kind of been going a little bit left of center in terms of some of the game mechanics, a lot of the not loot box stuff, but microtransaction-y stuff, like a million different DLC costumes. So I always just like to kind of keep aware of that type of stuff. And Team Ninja, you're never quite sure what you're going to get. So if you're kind of on the fence, maybe just wait. You only have to wait like 4 days to get some reviews, and then go pick it up.
Really, nobody should be pre-ordering any game. Outside of, there's just really no reason.
But then how do I get that hot DLC skin that's exclusive for 2 weeks when I pre-order the game? How do I get that? Tell me. You're the one who's always collect what you love. I love DLC launch skins that you get from pre-order.
I have literally had people tell me that they have heard collect what you love, and they are collecting all of the digital skins from a game because of it. I have literally had somebody tell me that before.
What do you tell them? What do you tell them?
Dude, good for you, man. Get what you love, there's no one stopping you. But pre-ordering is stupid, but I do it. And that's all I could say about that. I do it a lot. I do a lot of pre-orders. I get a lot of big games when they initially come out, because there is a third or a second factor to a game when it comes out, like Breath of the Wild, for instance. When that game came out, there is this massive zeitgeist that is behind it that can totally make an experience even better than it would have been initially. Now, I'm not saying like you should ever like grade a game on that stuff, but it does add to your experience. Like Breath of the Wild, finding secrets.
It creates memories too, because like if you were experiencing that game with your friends, there's all sorts of reasons that you'd want that thing on day one. And we've seen it right now with Elden Ring, maybe less so than we were with Breath of the Wild, because it seems like people are just tearing through that thing. But I remember, for a month after Breath of the Wild came out, it was like all anyone was talking about, and that, that's a priceless experience. So, I go back and I play all these old games, that came out years and years and years ago, and I'm not getting that zeitgeist experience, so I'm just getting the pure like game experience. And something is lost. If I had played Uncharted, for example, on day one instead of playing it, I played it a few years back, but I replayed it this week. I probably would have felt differently about the quality of that game had I been discussing it with everybody and saying, this is so mind-blowing, this is so cinematic, nothing's ever been done like this before in 2007. Not so much now.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like games like Horizon Zero Dawn, when that game came out, it's a great example of like a major shift in like a certain mechanic in a game, like altering people's experiences. That game came out, and like I loved that game. It was fantastic. But I remember it was right before Breath of the Wild, and people talked about how the climbing in Horizon Zero Dawn was trash, because they had now played Breath of the Wild, which let them climb anywhere, and it was awesome. And Horizon Zero Dawn's more of an Uncharted type of climbing around, where you have specific areas. And they've kind of altered that in their sequel now with more places you can climb, but it's kind of the same idea. But I always find it interesting, like those things, like playing Ocarina of Time back in the day. Like I had such an awesome zeitgeist experience playing that game. It was one of my favorite games for the longest time. It's still one of my favorite games, but Breath of the Wild kind of took that slot from that game. And I see a lot of people playing that game today, and they're like, "Oh, this is, antiquated, and it just doesn't." There's so many better ways of going about this game now that it's hard for me to enjoy it.
That's sort of why I've always looked at myself as sort of a video game historian, so to speak, rather than someone who is necessarily going after what is hot in the moment. And that's why you'll always hear me in this very segment of the show, What Are You Playing?, talking about how, yes, I played Uncharted this week. Yes, I'm replaying Tearaway on Vita, which came out, I think, 9 years ago. Yes, I am replaying Persona 5 Royal. What else am I? I'm playing Cookie Clicker. Like right now, Cookie Clicker is running in the background while I'm recording this. I totally just bought another temple for cookie production.
Tell me about Cookie Clicker. Tell me about this game.
What can be told about Cookie Clicker?
Like, what kind of game is it?
Well, it's an idle game. You play it on your PC. Basically, there's a giant cookie on the screen, and you can click on it and get more cookies. Like if you click on the cookie in Cookie Clicker, you can then click to create more cookies. And with those cookies, you can buy additional things to aid in your cookie production. So you get... It's really hard to just explain abstractly because there's so much going on. I wish I could just take my webcam and just turn it around and just show the game, because it's literally on my screen right now. But I'm not going to do that because nobody wants to see that.
See, I kind of knew. I knew that was going to happen, because I looked at this game and I'm like, how do you say what this game is? It's kind of so many different avenues.
Try it. Just try Cookie Clicker. If you're listening to this right now, here's what you do. Okay, keep this podcast on, because it's an idle game, so you can still watch us.
Yeah, keep it on.
And just throw Cookie Clicker on like your other monitor, or or put this podcast like on your phone or something, and then just fire up Cookie Clicker and just like see where you go. You go 1 cookie per second in your first minute of playing the game to right now, after approximately 5 hours of playing today. Yes, I have put 5 hours into Cookie Clicker today. I am creating 1.1 million cookies per second. So
that's a lot of cookies. I mean,
that's a lot of cookies.
How are you going to eat those cookies? What are you going to do to distribute them? These are the real questions.
Well, we have a really tremendous, production and shipping team working for Tasty Sausages Bakery. And, we really try our best to do what is right by our customers to get the cookies into their hands, into their mouths, and eventually into their bathrooms, where everything eventually ends up.
Interesting. The whole cycle of cookie. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. The life and death of a cookie. It doesn't matter what I was playing apart from Cookie Clicker, because Cookie Clicker is like my new thing, and everything else just, whoop, it's gone. Uncharted. I mentioned Uncharted. I went back and I'm revisiting that for the first time probably in about 6 or 7 years. Game does not hold up, but it also didn't hold up 6 or 7 years ago, and it feels the same as it did back then. So it hasn't gotten worse. It just, there are certain things that I'm like, man, cover shooters and third-person shooters and action games, like Tomb Raider is the really easy example here. 2013's Tomb Raider franchise reboot. That's a really good example of why that game doesn't hold up anymore, Uncharted, because Tomb Raider took a lot of those mechanics, took a lot of the exploration stuff, took a lot of the action platforming stuff, and just really, really refined it, got the shooting down to a science. It just feels really good. Uncharted at times does
It's tough,
not.
man. You go into those games and you're like, wait, why did they do this? But then, you have to like be like, oh, it was this time, it was this year, this is before they figured out this mechanic or smoothed this out. And you're like, okay. Like now I get it. But still, you can't really take that back. You can never really get back to that point before that mechanic existed or was refined, which is really interesting.
And that's okay, like if you, obviously there's no way to keep up with every game that ever comes out. There's just too many now. Back in 2005, 2006, maybe it was easier to pick up every new release and just play it to death. Uncharted's like a 12-hour campaign or whatever, so you can very easily just blast through it in a couple of long gaming sessions. But not so anymore, and there's too many games that are like that. So basically the point I'm trying to make is like, I don't mind the fact that it feels old, because it is old, and that's okay. Like, you need to go in with the understanding that this is not going to be like Shadow of the Tomb Raider. This is not going to be like even Uncharted 4. Some of the things remain, but the shooting doesn't feel as smooth. Sometimes jumping is a little messy, and the puzzles are really rudimentary, and they got better in future games. So anyway, played a little Uncharted as well.
It's always interesting to think like what games today are going to be like that, in 15 years from now. Like, Breath of the Wild.
What games today won't have aged well in 15 years?
Yeah,
you mean?
I think Breath of the Wild won't. I think Breath of the Wild will be a game that people won't want to play in 15 years because it kind of set a new standard for the industry. It's now like the new square one for an entire genre of video games, and I think it only gets better from Breath of the Wild after that. I think you can vastly improve.
What game would you argue is like Breath of the Wild and is better than Breath of the Wild? Because I don't think there is one yet.
I would say Elden Ring gets pretty close. I would say Elden Ring gets pretty close.
But Elden Ring is not a Zelda game. It's not a Zelda-style adventure game.
It is very close. It's in a different way, but it is that format. It is Breath of the Wild format. It's hard to explain because it's still a Souls game, and you still have the main mechanic of defeating bosses and learning them and figuring out when to dodge and block and all these things. But at its core, I see so much Breath of the Wild in that game. There's no way that they didn't use Breath of the Wild as their core for that game. And Breath of the Wild really is just a kind of a refined version of what we know of as open world games. It's just a lot of things in that game felt worthwhile. Like everything that I was doing in Breath of the Wild as I was playing through, whether it's getting a new armor or better weapons or picking up seeds in places, like everything went back to feeling good and making my character stronger or learning things about the game. And that's exactly how Elden Ring is. It's exactly everything is worthwhile and exploration feels just like Breath of the Wild.
So let me ask you this question. Talking about Elden Ring in this way, a game that came out almost 5 years to the date, Breath of the Wild now over 5 years old, by the way. I wonder, how will the experience that you have now playing Elden Ring kind of color your opinion of Breath of the Wild 2, assuming that Breath of the Wild 2, or the sequel to Breath of the Wild, as they're still kind of calling it, doesn't do a ton to advance the gameplay concepts that were introduced in Breath of the Wild? Like, how much will that game need to improve in order for it to be worthwhile in your mind? I think as an all-time great.
It's really interesting to think about that stuff because it's all perspective and it really Breath of the Wild. I could play Breath of the Wild again. I've only played it twice now, but I could play it again right now and still probably have a really good time playing that game because of how well it's organized and again the dopamine economy. I used that in our last episode, but it's just that's the only way I can explain these kinds of perfect worlds where everything is worthwhile, everything feels good. Exploring in open world games historically can get really boring, and there could be nothing at the end of the rainbow. You go to the waterfall and there's no cave under it, man. You know, you need a cave under the waterfall. You need to
a cave in every waterfall and a bread on every table.
That's right. You know, like you see like a shape on the ground with like rocks put around. You're like, that's something, dude. You know, like why is this circle of rocks here? I need to figure out this circle of rocks. And I think like a lot of open world games put that circle of rocks on the ground and it just doesn't mean anything. And there's no value to it. Or it's like something that's extra and they made sure it's extra and doesn't really benefit you in the game. You just get like maybe a little story bit or something. But I don't really think Elden Ring is competitive with Breath of the Wild because it's such a different kind of game. But I just really like to see games that have that kind of perfect economy of like exploration meaning something. And it's very interesting. I mean, both games have the same kind of narrative option of like just having you figure out what the story is as you go. And you pick up little bits as you go and find things in certain areas or, you know, ruins. And they don't really, I mean, Zelda does a better job of like telling you what's going on. You know, it's pretty basic for the most part. But, you know, Elden Ring, I guess it's the same kind of thing. You can kind of just wander that world and figure things out as you go. Just like Breath of the Wild. But I do think that Nintendo is probably struggling right now with trying to figure out what that evolution is of Breath of the Wild, whether they're just making like the Majora's Mask of Ocarina of Time. And
no, I would say it's pretty clear they're not doing that, and they're really trying to reinvent the wheel, because the way I see it, this is a game that's been done for nearly 6 years, because that thing was in its final build at E3 2016 on Wii U. So that thing was pretty much done. And the fact that they have not really shown a whole heck of a lot to this point, despite it being announced, what was it, 4 years ago now? Three or 4 years ago for Breath of the Wild 2?
And showing
and
gameplay. When did they show the gameplay? They showed a lot of gameplay.
They showed a bit, but it's been some time. I think it's been about a year. And it just makes me wonder, like, how much are they just, you know, kicking ideas around still and just saying like, Elden Ring just came out, Ghost of Tsushima just came out and did this awesome thing, and now we need to do it too, or we need to like iterate on that because we really need this game to be a big hit, because every Zelda game has to be a big hit. You know, you can't have Skyward Swords is coming out every 5 years, or people would drop the franchise like it was called Halo. So you know, it's interesting to kind of think about, you know, what direction they're going to go. We probably don't know even 1% of what they've been kicking around that office in terms of ideas for Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah, or like graphical fidelity and stuff like that. I'm always curious.
No, they're not working on that at all. They're not working on that at all.
See, I'm very, very, very curious about like Switch Pro and the future of the Nintendo Switch, and whether or not we were going to have a better system by now. I kind of feel like we would have had we not had the stuff with the C word, which we can't use here because we'll get demonetized. But all that stuff happening.
Really?
Yeah, we would. Absolutely.
Wait, and I have a follow-up question. We're monetized?
No, we are not. But
oh, well then in the future
we're technically monetized because YouTube puts ads on anything that they want to put ads on. But without getting too much into
let me
the
tell
weeds,
you this.
Want to be marketable.
YouTube is very listen, if you're putting ads on this video, YouTube, you've got the right idea. You cannot find two more marketable dudes on the internet than me and Discard. So good job by you. And let's talk about something else, shall we?
But yeah, so like that whole thing, I still feel like we would have had a pro version of the Nintendo Switch by now. I feel like the OLED version was that version. A lot of things pointed to that were in that build. And I do feel like we would have had a pro version by now. So, I mean, I'm always curious about these releases from Nintendo. I'm thinking like, did they make this thinking that they were going to have the Switch Pro by now? Or what, you know?
It's pretty hard for me to believe that they would delay Zelda just on the back of not having an upgraded Switch model available. Because it's still a pretty major release that could still stand to make many, many dollars, and you could still develop a new Zelda game in time for whatever upgraded Switch model comes in the future.
Well,
there's no reason to keep kicking the can down the road 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. Who knows when we're going to get Breath of the Wild 2 at this point?
Yeah, I mean, but I would say like, hey, like if we look at historically when Zelda games came out, I don't think it's delayed at all. I mean,
what?
I think most people are looking at it like, oh, you already have like your assets and your world and stuff that you have to work off of, so this should take like no time at all. But in reality, they're back there trying to figure out how to make a really fun game. That Breath of the Wild took forever to come out. I mean, that thing was years. I forget exactly how long it was.
Revealed in 2014, released in early 2017. So approximately 2.5 year development cycle, which is not a 2.5 year development cycle. Sorry, a 2.5 year announcement to release cycle.
Right. But that's I mean, that's going outside of the fact that we were even more time between like 3D Zelda games, and I mean, almost assuredly they were working on it right away after the previous one. I mean, we were actually told about like a new Zelda probably earlier than that.
As much as Aonuma said that they don't take inspiration from other games, or I think was it Miyamoto who's like, yeah, I don't play any games other than Nintendo games, which is like the most ridiculous thing in the world to me. But like someone at Nintendo said that. But it was pretty clear that after Skyrim came out, was this 2011, 2012? It was competing directly against Skyward Sword. And I remember there being a lot of discussion about, Zelda is stuck in the past, Skyrim is moving open world games forward, and this is like the future of adventure games. And then Aonuma comes out and says like, yeah, we're redefining like what it means to play a Zelda game. And they delivered on that promise so completely with Breath of the Wild.
Yep.
I think they just are they're feeling that internal pressure to keep going, to do it again.
I mean, and like back to your original question, it's like, how do they make this, sequel, I guess, better or at least as entertaining as the original Breath of the Wild? And I played the original a bunch of times and still had a fantastic time. I've never been able to recapture the zeitgeist like that we talked about earlier. But the game itself,
if that time has passed.
It's very good game still. And even another one of those to me is going to be fantastic. Even if they just cookie cutter took exactly what Breath of the Wild was. And
cookie clicker?
Did it? Oh no. Even if they cookie clicker
Did someone say cookie clicker?
Even if they do that, I don't think it's going to be a bad game. I think that game is going to have a lot of issues when it initially comes out with all the different media, taking it down a notch because of the immediate, comparison to the first one that came out. And I think that's going to be really challenging for Breath of the Wild 2. But I think it's going to be a good game. I don't know what they're going to do to really change things up outside of, giving new abilities that we have seen in the trailers that they released. But I hope that they change some stuff up and, keep it good.
All right. So that's what I've been playing. I don't even remember how we got on that discussion. But
and I've been playing Elden Ring, right? So it's just an awesome game, and you should play it. And I finished it, and it felt really good. And everything about that game is perfect. It's just such
a perfect game, you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect game. Oh, we could get into that too.
I'd rather not. I find that discussion very tedious.
I think.
Did we already talk about this on one of the other shows?
I think we did. Yeah, like.
I made fun of the people. Oh yeah, I swore at the camera. It was great.
Like when I say a perfect game, I don't mean it's perfect, okay? I just mean it's perfect. That's all.
Well, you said it's perfect, so that's obviously, it's flawless.
Flawless. Yeah, that's what perfect means. It's just completely flawless and there's no graphical glitches or, anything in the entire game because that's what it means. But it doesn't mean that. It just means it's a perfect game. That's all it means. It doesn't mean it's an absolutely bulletproof thing that's out there with perfect graphics and no slowdown and no issues with enemies like walking off cliffs by themselves or any weird stuff. It's a game that goes way beyond that, and it's just an amazing adventure to get on. And it's probably one of the best games that's ever been made, ever. And people should play it. And it's
perfect.
It's perfect, and it's accessible to way more people than any Souls game has ever been before. People should get in there and give it a try, but make sure you have have a friend that's played these games before, kind of Sherpa you into playing this game, so you can understand that there are so many differences between a hack and slash game and a From Software game. And you really have to understand those differences and just the play style of this genre that they have created. Before you go in there and get your butt kicked. But it's good.
I was going to make a joke about how you needed to hold up a newspaper to prove that you weren't kidnapped and that this isn't a recording, and but I can't remember how it was supposed to land. And then as a result of that tangent, I also lost my segue to the next segment. So perhaps we should just go ahead and get into the next segment,
okay.
sir. And let's talk about our pickups of the week. What did you get this week? Did you get anything cool?
I got something weird. It's not a game. I like going to thrift stores and stuff and finding interesting things out there. Last game that
Are you thrifty? You like a thrift store? Do you ever find anything like really good, like really valuable there? Because like all the thrift stores around here have their stuff together. They know what everything is worth. It seems.
See, that's where they get you, because you'll go in there like 10 times and you'll find nothing. It'll be like overpriced. They'll find the games, they'll give it too high of a price, way higher than it used to be at thrift stores. You used to get like NES games for like 50 cents or 25 cents. Nowadays, if you find them, they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna mark this up to $5-10, or they'll just take it and sell it online. Like Goodwill likes to do that. But if you go back enough times, you will find something cool. I swear. You just have to kind of get
you just
lucky.
you'd have to hope that people are trading in their cool stuff on days when dumb employees are working.
Exactly.
And don't know what anything is worth.
And I mean, a lot of those employees too, like they don't really care about what they're putting out there. They got like this cart. They go out, they just dump stuff on the shelf, and then they go back and they do their thing, and stuff. But here's my.
Are you
pickup.
saying that employees of major chain retail locations don't care about their job?
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
They get paid
How
less
dare
than you would at some worse jobs.
What did you get? What did you pick up? What is that?
Look at this thing. Look
What
how
is
sexy
what in the world?
This thing is. Look how
Is that a Sony? Is that a cassette tape player?
Dude, check this thing out. It's pretty. Look at that. So for
Wait.
audio listeners, it's like a reel-to-reel cassette like audio recorder and player. It's hard to.
Do you have any reel-to-reel tapes? Because I only have cassettes. Like I've got a big collection of like fish tapes from the 90s, which I can pop in.
I wish I did. It came with 2 blinks. So like 2 in. Let's see if I still have.
Can we We should totally put this podcast on reel-to-reel cassette.
It does have an issue where there's like I opened it all up and things spin, but they weren't working the way they should have. So there's a belt in there that's really loose after. I mean, this is from 1983 or something like that. But man, look how sexy this thing is, dude. I mean, like you got that like front grill on there. I mean, it's probably gonna be blurry on here because I have my stuff set, but I'll just once over. But what's really cool is like you stick in the side. There's this little cord here that connects to the side of this device, and then you got this little. This is the mic. It's got.
Like and you talking to that, and you can.
Yes, it's so cute. It says Sony on it. It's all like that old school, like really cool retro look to it. I'm very excited about just how this looks, But it's a recorder.
Here's what I'm going to need you to do. I need you to do this for me. I need you to, during the week, when you're not doing videos or whatever it is that you do, I need you to record something, and I want you to play it back on the podcast next week.
What if
and
it's
that
so
is
bad? So I've tried to do it so far. I still got to fix it. It might take a little while to find the right. There's a belt inside that I've got to replace, but I'm gonna do it. I've got the blank tapes. It came with 2 blank tapes, and then like a one of the reels that had some tape on it too. So I'm going to see what I can do with it. But I don't know, like old retro stuff sometimes, especially old retro tech. I'm like, man, like look at the design of this bad boy. This thing is, man, if only this is what the PS5 looked like, My goodness.
I know the PS5 looks terrible, but that is like really sleek. And I used to have this old preamp that I would plug my turntable into that my dad owned from 1968.
Oh yeah.
And that thing was amazing. Like it had all these little switches that you just like you flip them up to make things, you change from stereo to mono. You can just flip the power on. The volume was like this really big, like this giant tactile knob. Like you literally had to use your entire hand to like grip the knob.
Dude.
It's stuff like that is awesome.
Like
tubes, and I really wish that
I
really wish that designers of today, tech designers, would embrace the big and ugly instead of the new and sleek, because I think that a lot of the new sleek stuff just kind of falls flat after a time. I think the PS5 really does not look good, and
like
the PS4 really did not look good, and it just.
I would say like the PS4 at least was like a box that we would expect, like at least that's like just kind of it's a little bit more bulletproof when it comes to time. but like the PS5, like it comes out and they're like, oh, look at this futuristic design, and instantly it's old. Like it's instantly like this antiquated thing. It just right away. And I'm like, in 2 years from now, that thing is. There's no way that's going to be a style anybody wants in their home. Maybe that's their plan. But yeah, the old stuff. It has like metal in it and stuff. Who thought metal would be in these devices? Like it's made out of like good materials. And you're like, this is so cool. I'm going to fix this thing and make it work. But that's my pickup. It's a very odd pickup. But when you see something like that and it's like really cheap, grab those things because they're cool little bits of history too.
I feel like I need to up my game a little bit because my pickup is, to be honest with you, did we do pickups of the week in our last show?
I think so.
We did.
Maybe we did.
We did? Am I going to show the same thing again? Because I technically did not get this week, but we didn't do a show last week, and now I'm trying to remember if we did a show. Well, anyway, see if you remember. See if our
He's going to hold up cookie and cream.
No, the Doom Classics collection. It's very shiny because it's still in its wrap. So forgive the camera work here. It's not.
Ooh,
very
it's
good,
pretty.
It's Doom 1, 2, and 3 on Switch. Here's the back of the box. It comes with a bunch of stuff inside. I will probably never find out what that stuff is. But the coolest thing is that here on the side you see this little button, and if you flip this switch on, which you can do, so the box lights up. See, check that out. See, now you're really in hell.
Okay, now we're displaying. Now we're in display town.
Okay, I'm going to need it quiet on the set for this next part because there's another little button right here that you can press, and let's see if it comes across.
Oh, it looks like the audio cuts out. It may not be high enough for Discord to click over to it.
Let's see if I think Audacity might have picked it up, but it's playing the music from the first level of Doom.
Awesome.
So the box, it's a music box, man.
See, I love that. Like special editions and stuff need to like take notes from that kind of special
edition. Go all out, just like Limited Run does. I mean, hate on Limited Run for whatever you want, and a lot of those reasons are valid. But their packaging and the way that they put these special editions together is second to none, 100%.
Yeah, it just makes it like a cool user experience. Like when I got that Horizon Zero Dawn special edition, there's like there was like drawers in there and like secret compartments and stuff that I'm opening up, and I'm like, this is like an unpackaging like experience for me. Like apart from just the game, I'm having a great time going through this thing to find all these different things and find out that lights turn on and different events are happening. And I think it just makes it's more interesting than just opening a box and finding a keychain, a book, art book, and a CD from the game. Which I think.
How do you feel about unboxing videos in general, like of these things?
I think they're good.
Do you watch an unboxing?
I don't personally watch them, but I get why people do. I think some people just want to see what's in something, like what did they missed or what they can purchase. Like, if you're going to get a special edition and it's like available for cheap on Amazon or something, maybe you want to go watch an unboxing video to see what's actually in it before you buy it. But outside of that, I guess people just want to kind of, looky-loo, what people got.
I've always liked a good unboxing video because I never open any of my stuff, and I'm never going to get to see what's in this Doom Collector's Edition if I don't watch one.
You just take a knife and you just cut right into the top of that bad boy.
Throw the box away. Just throw it away because it's worthless. It's just cardboard, right? It's just paper.
That's right.
So
just pretend like you're ripping the eyeball out of something, okay? And just stick your arm right in the top through the plastic. Don't even cut it open. If you can't rip that plastic open just by shoving your arm into it, then, you don't deserve it anyway.
Well, yeah, I probably shouldn't be playing Doom if I can't even rip open plastic. What do you think Doom Guy would think of someone who can't even rip open a plastic box?
Yeah, true.
Like, come on.
True.
Pathetic. All right. So that's pickup of the week. We got other stuff. Are we playing any games this week? You didn't put anything on our little schedule here, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you won't make me do something dumb.
I was thinking about stuff. I mean, we had a lot of interesting ideas. We're always tossing ideas around. I don't think we have anything on the docket for this week, but we're definitely playing with some interesting ideas for the future weeks. Join the Discord, go and put it into the question section that we have for the Discord, and put your ideas in there. We have a couple little games we want to play, but I think we want to get another person on here for next week, hopefully, so that we can, have more players.
Yeah, we said guest. We said guests. I think I was inappropriately teasing that we would have guests next week on last week's the last episode that we did, which was 2 weeks ago, and then I couldn't do the next week because our schedules our schedules conflicted, and then we couldn't get a guest, and then we couldn't get a guest this week because it was too short notice. But next week we do intend on having a guest. Discard, I did ask our friend if he'd be willing to join in, and he said absolutely he would. And I mentioned the topic, and he's like, absolutely I would. So stay tuned. He's excited.
Should be a good time. And give me a second here. I'm going to cut this out of the podcast, but I'm going to hit the restroom really quick because
okay, I'm going to fix my lighting because this is driving me crazy.
This liquid has got to come out of me. All right, I'll be right back.
All right, hopefully he won't cut all of this because I'm going to play some cookie clicker. I'm going to do a little cookie clicker. All right, we're clicking. I'm up to 305 million cookies in the bank. I'm at 1.5 million cookies per second. And when we started this podcast, I was at 1.1. So we've had a little bit of an increase here in our cookie production. We're up to 33% increase since we started. Get some little news headlines at the top. The whole planet is enjoying my cookies, so that's a good thing. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to be a cookie producer in 2022. Quote, cookies helped me when I was feeling low. Reveals celebrity. Not much news if you don't put the name of the celebrity on there, but that's okay. Again, the whole planet is enjoying my cookies. Yeah, you mentioned that already. Still clicking. And to be clear, you don't have to click the entire time. Again, a lot of this stuff is automated. Faint meowing heard around local cookie facilities suggests new ingredient being tested. Wow, that's a little... I do not put cats in my cookies, I can promise you.
Yo.
So we will go ahead and continue the podcast momentarily as soon as I finish clicking these cookies.
Oh, my goodness.
All right. So now it is time for a new segment, or more accurately, perhaps, a news segment where we talk about news and things that have been happening. And one of the big things, Discart, that we had last week was the Sony PlayStation event, the State of Play. It happens maybe a couple times, 2 or 3 times a year or so-ish. And people are frequently disappointed by them, to which I say, why are people not adjusting their expectations for State of Play?
Or why are they watching them? I mean, that's the real question.
That's another good question. But what I don't know. What did you think of the event? And do you want to just run through each one, or do you want to have general thoughts on it, or what do you want to do?
I'll start with general. So generally, I thought it was okay. It's a list of games that's coming out. I think there are some heavy hitters in there for sure. I mean, you had some heavy hitters, but they're all stuff we've kind of heard about. So that was kind of I guess the issue that some people may have had is we're seeing more of games that they've already announced in the past, and a lot of people go to these shows for kind of an event.
Sorry, my cat. My cat is biting my microphone cable. Go away.
If Shae's audio cuts out, I mean, it is what it is.
You don't need me for a successful podcast. All right, sorry to interrupt.
But yeah, I thought it was okay. It's just for me, these shows are like a list of games that are coming out from a company that they're marketing at me. So I go in with that expectation of a company marketing a bunch of stuff at me. And usually there's you can have events that are exciting at the end with that one more thing that Nintendo likes to do. A lot of times that hits really well. Other times it doesn't. Same thing with Sony. Like some events of theirs feel like they're just kind of animated, trailers for games that may just be vaporware at the moment. And then other times they'll show lots of gameplay for some games that are coming out. And I think they did show a lot of gameplay this time, which for me is the cool part of these kinds of events. I see a lot of gameplay, then I'm like, oh, I can find out if this game is for me. Whereas another event that says, shows God of War and it's just an animated thing, I'm like, oh, I have no idea if this is a good game, but maybe that, people like that show better, It's very interesting.
We're still getting a lot of games announced for 2023 with these Sony events, which has always been kind of a bugaboo for Sony. They're always announcing games so far in advance, and it seems like they can't really once you're on that path, it's hard to get off of it, right? Because if you're just then it becomes a situation. Was it 2018 at E3 where they didn't show like a single new game, and it was just, I think they showed 6 or 7 games that had all been previously announced. We're talking Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man, that type of stuff. But anyway, what were we talking about? We're talking about my cats are being the worst right now. They're very distracting.
Did we have any exclusives showed at this show at all from Sony? What is their stuff?
Ghostwire Tokyo is currently an exclusive. It's
Okay.
I don't believe it's launching on Xbox when it comes out about a week and change from today. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm just pulling all this up while we go.
We could probably chug through the list real quick and just kind of go.
Yeah,
from
let's
game
just
to
go.
game.
Let's just go down the list and we'll talk about your thoughts on each one. And to be honest with you, for the most part, I don't have a ton of thoughts myself on each one. I typically don't even watch the state of plays because I know it's just not going to be a bunch of stuff for me. But there were some interesting things at this one, and we're going to start with Exoprimal. And you have a little blurb here about each one. I'm not sure if you just grabbed this from like an online.
Yeah,
like,
these
look
from,
like headlines.
Dude, this is from like Kotaku or something, dude. I just like copy and paste it.
Well, let's give Kotaku some credit for these excellently written headlines, excellently written content, not something Kotaku is known for, so let's give them some credit here. And let's say futuristic exosuits clash with dinosaur hordes in Exoprimal, out in 2023. What is Exoprimal?
All I know about Exoprimal is that dinosaurs fall from the sky and you fight them. Okay? I think that's all anybody needs to know. Except for the fact that it could be, I mean, we were talking about it earlier before we did this podcast. We talked about it being free to play possibly, or there being other issues with it where, I could see it quickly turning into that kind of game where it's free for everyone to play, but it has like just piles of microtransactions. But I really can't speak on it because I don't know. That's out in 2023, right?
Yeah, 2023. I read something somewhere about this game being free to play, and I'm not sure if it was just someone's prediction or if that was actually from the developers. And going on the Exoprimal site, I can't find anything about it being official. So what we do know is that it's an online multiplayer game primarily. You fight dinosaurs with other dudes, and it's from Capcom. So initially, what everyone was thinking is like, oh my god, is this the Dino Crisis sequel and or reboot that we've all been waiting for? And then no, not so much, which really bummed a lot of people out, myself included.
Yeah, I know a lot of people felt that too, and I always wonder, like, do these like devs, are they prepared for that? That kind of feedback.
I don't think so, dude, because otherwise you don't get those BlizzCon moments where the Diablo guy's up on stage saying, "What, you guys don't have phones?"
Oh gosh,
I don't think they even know.
That was one of the best marketing moments. We'll remember that forever.
My whole point is that like I just don't know that developers really know what people want, or maybe some of them do. Like some people in the companies know.
Oh, I totally agree with that. Like the overall heads of marketing or whoever is the executive overseeing production, there's like, dude, free to play online multiplayer is in right now, so let's make a crazy game with dinosaurs. And they're like, okay, we also have this game called Dino Crisis that people really like, and you don't want to maybe go down that road and suggest that, but okay. Who owns Dino Crisis? Is that Sony owns that?
That's Capcom. That's Capcom.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's Resident Evil, but with dinosaurs. You never played Dino Crisis?
No, I didn't. A lot of people love it. People love it. They talk about it all the time.
You ever play Onimusha?
I did not. Nope.
That's like Resident Evil, but with samurais.
I have watched people play Onimusha, but
I like Onimusha a lot.
I really need to play it because it seems to be in like that top echelon of people's favorite games. So it's like it's on the list. It's definitely on the list. But yeah, I would say like this was kind of a cool trailer for me because it was just so ridiculous. It's kind of like when I see Kirby like eat up an entire thing and turn into a giant whatever he's car Kirby mode or whatever. Like I like those just like outside the box weird stuff being thrown at you, which can either be taken as like we're being weird just to be weird so that we get you interested, or it can be taken as like, oh, this is going to be just a weird game. But I always like seeing some weird stuff happening. I'm like, oh, dinosaurs falling from the sky. Why not?
I don't even have anything to add. I'm just ready to go on to the next one here, which is they showed off a new Ghostwire Tokyo trailer. The same people who did Evil Within. Shinji Mikami and that crowd. So that game looks awesome. Out on PS5 and PC on March 25th. Not coming to Xbox yet, although Microsoft technically owns Tango Gameworks as part of the Bethesda deal. So that game will probably come to Xbox systems, likely on Game Pass here at some point. So if you're not sure, maybe wait and get it on Game Pass. Also, I hate you. I think this game looks awesome.
Yeah, it does look really cool. And it's like, I hear that a lot in like the first person shooter community where they're like, we want something different. You know, we want, BioShock.
This is it. This is it. Buy it.
This is it.
If you want something different.
Like,
yeah.
That's really frustrating to me, by the way, when somebody says that they want something over and over again and they're like, I'll wait for a sale on this one. And I'm like, this is the thing that you wanted. Like, go all in on this one. This is the one you go all in. You know, if this is what you wanted, then you should go all in and tell those developers that it was a good thing that they made this kind of game. Don't wait, months and months. I mean, of course, financial stuff aside. Like, if it's not financially reasonable for you to
liquidate your assets and buy Ghostwire Tokyo.
Go sell your car.
What are you doing with those shares of stock in that one company anyway?
That's
what
right.
do you need an ETF
Apple
for?
stock?
Cryptocurrency? Worthless. Worthless. Get Ghostwire Tokyo.
This is all Cookie Clicker's fault, by the way. Like, for the rest of today, we're all gonna have problems speaking. It's so hard. But yeah, I'm excited for that game just because it's just different. It's just a different game, and you're gonna shoot magic out of your fingertips and stuff, and it looks like the combat is totally weird and different. I'm excited to see what that game plays like for sure.
All right, Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin, we kind of talked about already. You said you played the demo.
Yep.
Forspoken is a game that's been announced previously, and I actually, to be honest with you, I cannot picture it in my head right now. Tell me about Forspoken, please.
I guess the only things that I could really speak on Forspoken, it is absolutely the most exciting thing that was in this event for me, because just the movement of that game just seems perfect. Like, zipping around and running around just looks like the best time ever. And sometimes for me, that can just be like the most important part of a game. It could make and break the experience, especially when you're talking about like third-person action games like that. But outside of that, I still don't know what the core of this game is, exactly how the game plays, but they certainly showed a lot more in this trailer. And man, just the movement, it just looks so good. There's some games out there that I could just move in, and like Spider-Man and stuff. Like, that game is just, a lot of that game is just the movement. And I think this game is going to be that kind of game where people just jump in to move their character.
Just looking up some details about the company that's developing this, Luminous Productions. They are the first, this is their first actual game that they are developing. They were created specifically to create games using the proprietary Luminous engine created by Square Enix. So this is also, I believe, the first game to be using that. Was Final Fantasy 15? I don't know. I'm not going to do my research on the air. That's not professional. Or I'm not going to talk about it while I'm doing it.
Well, I mean, it's not bad.
Anyway, looking at some footage as well. This game does look pretty rad. You don't see games move this way, so you can tell it's like a new engine. This is not Unreal Engine. This is not, whatever EA's stupid.
And like from the first trailer too, it didn't even graphically, it wasn't looking that great in the first trailer. It was like just kind of the idea and very small amount of gameplay. I think they initially just showed like the character like running around, and I think that was enough to get people excited. But now it looks a lot more polished, and I'm sure it'll be more polished in the future. But it looks really good. That's the most exciting game from this list for sure for me.
And Uncharted's own and former Naughty Dog lead Amy Hennig is working on the story for this game. So that's interesting. I liked Amy Hennig. Sad to see her go. I don't think Naughty Dog's been the same since her departure. Anyway. All right. Next thing here is Gundam Evolution. You like Gundams. Everyone loves Gundams.
Yep, I do. I have seen at least one episode of it before.
You've seen one Gundam in your life.
Yes, I have. I really like the idea of Gundams. I see them all the time in people's game collections and stuff, and they're just really cool these awesome detailed statues, and I think they're awesome. And people can completely customize them and paint them. Like I saw a Game Boy Gundam the other day that I was like, man, where do I buy this? But some guy just, custom made it, which, makes me sad. But that's pretty much the extent of my Gundam knowledge, outside of, really liking Horizon Zero Dawn because it kind of carries over a lot of those same aesthetics.
Well, this game is a free-to-play first-person shooter, so there you go.
Yeah, I saw the trailer and it seemed kind of, very, very arcadey and kind of simple. I'm sure it'll be fun for some people out there, but it's not like didn't really grab me, that's for sure.
Maybe something that did grab you, someone of your age group, Discart specifically, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection.
That's awesome.
Which has, there's 13 TMNT games released across multiple platforms: NES, Super NES, Arcade, Game Boy. I'm excited to try some of these. I missed Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles by about 3 to 4 years. It was just out of my wheelhouse growing up. They were no longer part of the pop culture of my childhood by that point. But for people like you, for oldies like you, I'm sure holds a lot of nostalgic value.
You're the one with the gray hair here, okay? We've been over
do you even have hair under that hat?
There's
Why
no
are you
hair.
always wearing a hat? I want to know.
It's a bald, like I didn't want the gray hair. I just cut it all off. Just go full, full bald man. Why not? That's what you got to do now.
I'm starting to get pretty shaggy here myself. I might actually do the full head shave here coming up.
As soon as you see like 3 gray hairs, that's when you got to go full, just shiny head guy, But yeah, I guess so. This is really cool because it's just a giant collection of all of these cool retro games about the Ninja Turtles. I wasn't huge into the Ninja Turtle games when I was a kid. I was more into I had action figures and stuff, and the turtle shell opened up and you could store stuff in there. I thought that was awesome.
Well, the games mostly weren't good, so the action figures I think are probably the way to go.
The TV show was really cool. The games I think were just probably a little too hard for me as a kid. A lot of them are really difficult, especially NES ones are pretty challenging and not very nice to you when you die or lose or whatever. Turtles in Time, however, is fantastic. It's an amazing video game, and I think that was on the list for this. If I'm
yes, it is both the arcade and the Super Nintendo version of it.
That
you probably want the
itself is
arcade
worth
one,
it.
but
That makes the entire collection worth it. I heard a lot of people arguing about the price of this. Do you know what the price was going to be for this?
I think it was $40.
Yeah.
But it is coming physical, so I don't know what people are complaining about. Look, if there's one thing that Konami has historically been really good at, it's releasing great collections of their old games for reasonable prices. This is 13 games. Some of them are ports, some of them are other alternative versions of other games that are on the systems. But this is back when, the Super Nintendo and the Genesis were not comparative from a technology perspective, so they had to make the games a little bit different. So it's not like you're getting the Xbox 360 version and the PS3 version of a game that are virtually the same. You're getting 2 games that were designed in different ways, have different aspects to them. The music is going to sound way different from the Genesis to the Super Nintendo version. They might as well be their own unique games here, people. So I don't see what the problem is with charging $40 for a collection of 13 games.
And it's
from
you're
the past.
talking about
that are probably
hundreds.
extremely hard to license too. To get all these games together into one package, that's insane.
I think if you were to go and purchase them separately physically now in the current state of things, you're talking about hundreds of dollars to go and collect these games, and they're very expensive.
Not to mention buying your own TMNT Turtles in Time arcade cabinet, which is going to run you upwards of $400 and be a nightmare to maintain.
With one game on it. But yeah, it's I think it's very good, and the price is probably fine. I would have paid $60 for it. I understand.
Really?
I understand people. Yeah. It's tons of video games. And I disagree completely with the narrative that old game means cheap game. I don't think that is a thing. I don't think that should exist. I think good game should be cost this amount for game. Put it in simple caveman terms. It's if the game is good, then it should be worth this much. Not if the game is old and good, it should be worth less.
You're playing right into Nintendo's hand with that take, my friend, because
absolutely
they would love all of their consumers to be like, oh, this old game, yeah, that's worth $60 for sure.
Yeah,
Link's Awakening on Switch, $60, easy.
And Link's Awakening was not even a port, was it?
No, it was a remake, but it was virtually the same game that you could have gotten on 3DS for $4. That's really my only issue with that was the price, because I like the game. I mean, but we're getting way off topic.
Oh yeah, I mean that game had I would definitely disagree with that on that game. We could save that for a future episode, but there were so many different things that they added to that game that made it a completely different experience than I had on my Game Boy. For sure.
$56, man.
Yeah, I guess because it's old, it's bad. So it shouldn't be worth money then, huh? Is that how it works?
I didn't say it was. I didn't say it was bad. I said that it was $4 that you could get virtually the same game for $4 on the 3DS.
That's true.
That's all I said.
Well, I mean, like that. I think we should talk about this because I think it's interesting.
Now? I think we should wait. I think that this is not a topic we need to get into right now.
Okay, so one day in the future, we're going to talk about what makes the value of a game.
All right, next week, maybe. All right. Gigabash. Gigabash. It looks like Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee, but without Godzilla characters. So, lame.
Yeah, not into that one. It looked very, very, that's like ultimate arcadey. Just really simple drop in.
Yeah.
Could be really fun for people again, but I don't think it's going to be like top of the list for people.
I think games like Rampage and Godzilla games, in that style could do very well in this environment. The problem is licensing the monsters, from Toho. That's tough already. And then secondly, it doesn't seem like they ever really put the resources into developing an awesome game. So it's like, do I really want to play this kind of mediocre? And Rampage has been they haven't figured out what to do with that franchise since it was in arcades.
Yep.
But I feel like they could because those are great characters. Anyway. So, Gigabash, I'm frustrated by. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R. Are you into JoJo? This is the same team that does the Dragon Ball games.
I have never seen it, and I know a lot of people were really into it. There's a lot of memes and stuff that I miss out on because of that. But I also didn't, that type of anime I really didn't watch as a kid either. It just is not one that I go after. I watch a ton of anime too. I just couldn't get into JoJo's. I think I started watching one of the episodes and I was like, it's not hitting me yet. But I think I needed to watch further, to really.
I did not know that you. I didn't know that you watched a lot of anime. What is your favorite anime?
Oof.
Anime, if you're being accurate.
There's an anime that it's called Noragami that I really like. But it's in kind of a delayed mode between seasons. I think it had like 3 seasons or something like that. But outside of that, I like Sword Art Online, of course. I watched that and a lot of the kind of mainstream stuff as well. But Attack on Titan, watched the first 2 seasons of that and then kind of fell off. And then I guess right now it's like Demon Slayer and something else. There's another one that we've been watching, but I can't remember right now. But Demon Slayer is really good. My son knows like all the characters' full names from that anime.
My wife is the big anime watcher in our house. I don't really participate, but she does like this one show where they are living on like a farm or they're going to farm school or something, and there's lots of like animals in it. And then there's also one where they are in high school and they're in like a rock band, and the animation on the instruments is supposedly like really detailed and thorough.
That's what's cool about it.
I know nothing about anime, by the way.
Anime is fantastic because it's literally just like anything else. It's like there's so many different avenues within and genres within it that there's definitely something for people as long as you're okay with looking at animated characters. It's like that's the only difference between it and like regular movies or TV shows.
Yeah, cool. All right. I hope you go through and like cut all the awkward. Actually, you know what? I hope you keep all the awkward pauses.
Oh, we're
because then they can see how often I am unable to respond to something you've said.
Well, I mean, I didn't really give you an opportunity. I didn't put anything out there. I should have, sprinkled some interesting things out there. But yeah, anime is good.
All right, anime is good. We know that.
Oh, and I never watched Dragon Ball Z though. Just for the record.
No,
I couldn't get into it. I just can't. I couldn't do it as a kid. I didn't like the way they looked. I didn't like the characters. I didn't like the designs. You
don't like Toriyama? You don't like Dragon Quest? You don't like
nope.
Goku?
Nope. I think that there's just superior animations, and it's like that's what is a problem. Like Dragon Quest, Need to play it. Absolutely. It looks like a fantastic video game. And I'm not playing that game because of how it looks. It's just because I missed out on a lot of that game or the history of that game, and I just haven't had the gusto to jump into it. It's like, looking at Kingdom Hearts or something from the outside and being like, where do I go here?
Dragon Quest is nothing like Kingdom Hearts. Play Dragon Quest 11.
How many Dragon Quests are there?
There's 11, but you don't need to play them all. You really only need to play the most recent one to get the idea. They're not connected whatsoever.
Well, true.
It's like Final Fantasy.
But that's the kind of information I need is like, what is, where's the best jump in point? Not necessarily the story.
Okay, let's talk about Dragon Quest sometime because I'll help you.
Yeah.
It's good. All right, let's talk about Hell. You like Hell. You're a big Hell fan. You're a big Hell guy.
Fan of Hell. Yep.
And guess what? You get to battle through Hell and back in Trek to Yomi, which is kind of a very Japanese-y looking, very black and white looking action side-scroller type of thing.
Yeah, it's like
and
a
it looks
mix
pretty
too.
Freaking rad.
It's like it's not even just side-scroller, is it? It's like weird mix of like. It looks like they've gone really artful with it instead of just leaning completely on the side-scrolling thing. They have like, I don't know. It looks like all over the place.
Yeah, it's another one of those samurai games. Samurai are in again right now, which, by the way, time to bring back Onimusha, Capcom, instead of like freaking Dino Crisis Online.
I actually think that nobody should target that right now. I think this game is coming out at a bad time. I think
why?
Because I think the market has been saturated by this style.
Saturated by one game with
multiple
one samurai
games.
character?
Oh man.
What multiple games with samurai?
Okay, so we got Neo, we got Ghost of Tsushima. What was the third big one? We just
I don't know. I'm asking you.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't think of them off the top of my head. But there's a bunch. Ghost of Tsushima and all the Neo games, and then you had Samurai. There's so many indies that are samurai.
Sakuna of Rice and Ruin, which is not about a samurai, but it takes place in Japan.
Katana Zero does very much this kind of thing. There's another like 2 or 3
This
indie
game
games that
looks like it could
style.
play like Katana Zero in a way, which I really liked Katana Zero.
There's
so
like
I could
3
take another one of those.
big indie games that have come out in like the last 2 years that are in this kind of style of this like samurai ninja style. And you add on top of that Ghost of Tsushima and the Neo games, and I swear there's another big one that I can't remember right now off the top of my head that does this kind of thing. If
you know what this game is, put it in the comments or something.
Yeah.
Is that how YouTube works? You got to tell them to put stuff in the comments.
And I think it's cool that they have like the black and white thing, but like just everything about it makes me feel like Ghost of Tsushima, even though it's a totally different kind of game. And I'm also currently playing Katana Zero, which is fantastic. It is a really good game. So it's like, I don't know. I see samurai stuff everywhere when it comes to video games. I would be very careful as to like going into a market that's seen a lot of samurai stuff, but you haven't. So maybe it isn't. It's not saturated for me. So I'm probably going to pick up Trek to Yomi. I think it looks really, really neat. Yeah, it's got an interesting style to it. I'm looking forward to see what other outside of the box ideas that they have there. And just that cool old, samurai movie feel to it.
Yeah. All right. So and then finally, a couple more things. Returnal update. Did you play Returnal at all?
Yes. Yeah, it's really good.
So do you think, is this update enough to get you to come back? Because it's been a while.
Yes. Co-op is a big deal. For me, it's a very big deal. That is a difficult video game to play. I never finished it, but like it's kind of, I would feel like most people probably don't end up finishing that game because of how challenging it is. Like the level's always changing, and to get to the end, you have to do certain things, and it's kind of Soulsy in that way, where you fail a ton over and over again to get to where you're trying to get to. But having a second player in that game, depending on how they balance it, could make for like a really fun kind of more arcadey mode. It just depends if they're giving enemies more health or the balance is going to be very important. But co-op could be so cool. That game is a lot of people's game of the year. It was that good, and it is very well polished. But the Tower of Sisyphus, I really don't care. I could care less about that. Like they're adding on. I know a lot of people are going to be excited for that did finish this game, but like I didn't even finish the game. I'm still going to be going back and forth with it because just of the nature of the game. It's just something I can always pick up and play. But with co-op could be really neat, especially playing with friends that I know have played this game. It's going to be a good time.
All right. Finally, a couple final announcements here. Something called the Diofield Chronicle, which I don't even remember from this presentation.
Was this
Square
the Enix? This maybe?
Hold on, I'm checking it out right now. Oh, this is the Okay, this is the game that looked like Final Fantasy Tactics but isn't. Yes, I don't care about this because it's not because it's bad, not because I just tactical RPGs have never been for me. They're just not my thing. Like Advanced Wars is about as heavy. I'll get into that.
I'm super into tactical RPGs, and I've seen so many lately that I don't care about this one right now.
Did you pick up Triangle Strategy?
I didn't. I'm kind of like I'm on a different mode, and it depends. You know, like I go in cycles with games. So I'll like get into like some really like, you know, deep stuff that's like, you know, off the beaten track. And then I'll be back into like very basic, you know, like Elden Ring is very mainstream and that kind of thing. So I just kind of cycle between these things. I'm sure I'll eventually come back to Triangle Strategy because it seems pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. For these kinds of games to be like really exciting, they have to really talk about what makes them different than the previous things in this genre. So I'm excited to see what they do with that, but it's not a game that I was like, whoa, this is cool. But if you are that person, you should be buying this game. This is what you want more in the industry.
We should make it very clear. Buy the games that you want to see more of because it's been shown. Trek to Yomi is probably being made because of the success and marketed at the level it's being marketed. It was probably already being made, but it's being marketed at this level because of the success of Ghost of Tsushima, because people bought it at full price. They saw the reviews. They're like, okay, let's go get this thing. Buy the games that you want to support. Don't wait for a sale.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy.
But right. Yeah, it's interesting. It's we'll see how that one turns out. But they definitely have to put something more spicy in those trailers. Plus, you know what? That was a bad trailer. That was a terrible trailer. It was like the second half. If I'm remembering the trailers correctly, which I'm pretty sure I am, the first half of that trailer was like showing maps with like just like pins on them. It was just over and over like somebody with a narrative talking in the background and just maps. And then towards the end, they started flashing in a little bit of gameplay. If your game is a tactical RPG, just show the tactical RPG.
The thing, those people, or rather, those people in marketing at these companies think that people are not going to be impressed by gameplay of tactical RPGs. Historically, they have not shown well. Think of games like Codename Steam. Think of games like Advanced Wars. Like, it's hard to show those games because there's so much setup that's required. Like, you're moving guys from space to space. There's not a lot of action. The action is in moving the characters around and building a strategy in your head. So if you're in the marketing department at Square Enix, you're looking at this game and you're like, this is a nightmare. We have to put a CG thing together.
They're like, you know what?
Otherwise, no one's going to buy this.
You know what people are going to dig? Maps. We'll put some maps.
I mean, Look, I'm not saying that they know what they're doing. I'm just saying that this is probably their
totally
thought
agree
process.
with you. Yeah, like when you see, like it's a different thing when you're playing it. Like I'm not even thinking about like the narrative of those games when I'm playing. I'm just thinking like tactically how I take down a group of enemies, right? But showing that game is something totally different. I mean, you need either, if you're going to have a trailer, if you're going to put filler in there, then you need to have like, some sort of animated sequences that you're showing, or maybe even the gameplay, like, with Triangle Strategy and with that new, like, what do we call it? 3D or whatever?
HD 2D.
HD 2D. That effect is enough to make it look pretty, right? And people kind of look at it a little bit closer with that. But yeah, maps, I was like, this is a bad trailer. I'm sorry. It just wasn't exciting. You show me maps for like 2 minutes and I'm like, okay, bud. That's not why I'm.
All right. Well, I'm glad you liked it. And the final game that they showed was Valkyrie Elysium. It's the first Valkyrie game since like the PS2 days, I believe. The Valkyrie. What were they? What was that? What were they called again?
I don't know. That's outside
Valkyrie.
of my.
Valkyrie Profile. Profile. Okay. There it is. So it's one of those. So if you're into those types of RPGs, which I certainly am, but I know nothing about the Valkyrie Profile series, so I'm gonna have to do a little research of my own. Those games were coming out when I had no money because I was a poor little child and couldn't buy my own games. So, a lot of stuff I missed from the early 2000s period of RPGs.
Having those gaps though is so good, especially for collecting, because like you go
it
back.
Can be super rewarding to go back and find that stuff.
That's like the best, man. Like I did a lot of that going through like, some DS games and stuff like that. That's my gap zone. You can get some really cool stuff. This game it's interesting. Like I don't really know anything about these games, and I wasn't even like super knowledge. I've heard of Valkyrie Profile, but I didn't even know that these were like the same, whatever. But like looking at it, I was like, oh, this is kind of like PS2 era gameplay. Not that the game looks like it's from a PS2 or anything like that. It's just this kind of simplified combat is what it looked like to me. Very interesting animation design going on there. They have like kind of black outlines around people. And it's pretty.
I'm a sucker for the blackout line. It reminds me of like cartoons I would watch in the 90s.
It's pretty neat. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah. And that's the state of play. So we hit everything there. And in general, like I said, I'm not really a huge fan of these, and I didn't get a ton out of this one. I'm definitely interested in Forspoken. I'm definitely interested in Valkyrie Elysium, and I'm definitely interested in Ghostwire Tokyo, but that doesn't really count. And then of course Trek to Yomi. So actually, just listing it out, I'm like, well, maybe I'm a little too low on this. But in general, state of play continues to be maybe about half of what a typical Nintendo Direct generates in terms of excitement.
Yeah.
Fair? Is that fair?
I would say so. But I feel like I just feel like in general with Directs, like people's excitement is just misplaced. And it's like everyone has their
Directs usually deliver, though.
Do they?
I've never been... I think so. I am rarely disappointed by Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, I find that kind of interesting, though, because there's some Directs out there that showed games, but they didn't show gameplay. And I'm like, oh, well, it's just like trailers for games that could be in the future. And I think that sometimes generates excitement for people who aren't like even going to get games or whatever. Like they're more looking for like this kind of this show that is more entertainment for them, right? And I do think Nintendo does the best out of anyone, for sure. Because they have that one more thing. They have like some heavy hitters. They kind of have a really nice balance to the way that they have their shows flow.
Well, they've been doing the digital presentation now for almost 10 years.
Yeah,
like if you think back, crazy. I want to say 2012, I believe, was their last E3 press conference on stage. And since then, it's been all digital all the time. And it works, I used to think like, man, I wish that Nintendo would go back to that stage show. But now it's hard to imagine them going back to it. Like, yeah, we won't get those Twilight Princess crowd like jumping up and down moments anymore. But, that era is kind of gone by anyway.
I mean, in a way, what they did was they took E3 and just turned it into their own show. Like the things that were exciting about E3 just all went into these Directs. And, that's how a Direct plays out. You have ups and downs, and you can kind of look at the way a certain Direct is organized for like people to kind of start feeling bored, and then like boom, they come out with their heavy hitter right after that, so that you're back up, and you're feeling good. It's all marketing. It's designed to make you feel a certain way, and I honestly like disagree with the way certain people feel about certain shows. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, this show kind of stunk, because it didn't show me any video games. Like I'm here to see like what games they're marketing towards me, and they just showed me like 8 animated trailers that have no gameplay in them. They don't even tell me when the game's coming out, and there's just nothing there. But to some people, that's the best show. They're like, oh man, Wolverine, let's go. And I'm like, dude, I don't even know what this game is, dude. What are you talking about? Like, you're just excited that Wolverine is coming out? Like, I have no idea what this is. I get why people are excited. They're very hopeful for the future and stuff. But when you go into these Directs, you have to look at it like, like what game are you trying to sell me right now? And when I look at that game, I'll be like, oh, this gameplay looks awesome. Forspoken is really exciting to me because the gameplay and the movement of that character is very, very good. Ghostwire Tokyo, very exciting because how good it looks. But it's like, it's not the first time that they've showed it. I wish Sony would do that. They'd be like, hey, we'll put our animated bit, and then we're going to have gameplay right after that. And that's how you sell something right away. You show really good gameplay next to some really good animation, and there's nothing like mischievous going on there. They're not like really going after your pre-order in kind of a nasty way. Where I feel like if you're doing like just 3D animations, it's kind of just selling the idea that a game could be good to somebody.
I feel like Sony and Nintendo historically have done a pretty good job of not manipulating like they haven't oversold stuff as much as, say, your average third-party developer does. Not a lot of disappointments coming out of Sony and Nintendo's first-party studios.
True.
I think that can be, yeah. All right. Let's do upcoming releases, and let's get to some fan questions, sir. It feels very weird calling you Discart while you call me Shae, but I'll call you.
You can call me Shae too if you would like. Yeah.
All right, Shae. Let's go ahead and get to the upcoming releases. So we got stuff. We got lots of stuff actually. You have a more complete list than I do because we added some stuff pre-show. So you go ahead and read them out.
Okay. So what we have coming up, and this is like the next, little bit of time here, next couple of weeks. We got March 15th. I wanted to make sure to make a note that we have Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak event coming out in just a couple days here from when we're actually recording this podcast. I'm excited for that. Love Monster Hunter, and typically Monster Hunter does a really good job in adding on to their games, because essentially if you think about it, it's an add-on to the game. But the way Monster Hunter does it is they essentially give you a brand new game attached to the old game. So you end up with just a double-sized game, sometimes triple-sized, with these extra add-ons with G rank and these higher ranks within the game, and they just are really, really good. As opposed to, something like Pokemon, which, will come out with 2 copies of a game, or they'll come out with the better version later, and it's just a little bit of additional content with, a couple little DLC things. Monster Hunter really does it right. After that, March 16th, we have Tunic. What do you know about Tunic?
What I know about Tunic is what I know about The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, because the games look pretty much identical. You've got kind of a semi-isometric, overhead view where your character is a little fox with red hair and a green tunic running around slashing at grass with swords. So it's very much in the style of Zelda, and the dude who made it, it's another one of those one dude indie games.
Oh, cool.
Made many allusions to other triangle collecting games in the history of video games when talking about where he got his inspiration from. So he's not really even trying. He's not even trying to hide it. It's a Zelda game, and that's okay because Xbox needs a Zelda game, and this is an Xbox and PC game.
They absolutely.
I won't be playing it. I won't be playing it on Xbox, but I might pick it up on PC if we start to see some solid reviews come in, because I think it looks pretty good. I think it looks like a Zelda game.
Yep. So it's got some puzzles involved and stuff as well to kind of meet that Zelda kind of. I saw the the cover art for it was really good. It looked beautiful.
It's cute. It's really cute. It's a cute looking game.
So after that, on March 18th, we've got the Stranger of Paradise that's coming. And we talked a little bit about that earlier. To me, it just seems kind of like Devil May Cry, and there's going to be a little bit of character to it. It looks really interesting, but it's one of those games that I'm like I feel a little risky for pre-ordering.
Did you pre-order that game?
No, I did not.
Were you saying don't pre-order it? Okay.
I'm not saying, don't pre-order it, but I'm just saying it feels like I always have I have these different levels of when I'm purchasing a game, like whether I'm going to buy it the day one, if I'm going to wait for some reviews and some conversations to happen amongst people. And this one's definitely in that wait a little bit to kind of check it out and see how good it is. But It seems overwhelmingly positive from the people that I've talked to, and even people who are reviewing the game. Seem very happy with that game, which is kind of crazy to me, because it does seem like Square has kind of got so many different games going on that it kind of gets lost in the sauce there. After that, March 22nd, Rune Factory 5. Have you ever played a Rune Factory?
You forgot a thing.
Oh, wait.
You forgot one thing.
Oh, I didn't put it in order. We have Mario Kart DLC with 8 new courses coming out on March 18th. What do you have to say about this, sir?
Yeah. Just a lot of there was a lot of huffing and puffing about Mario Kart 8 getting DLC like 8 years after it first came out, and like how it's not the deluxe edition if it doesn't include everything. It's like, dude, whatever. They're giving you like 48 courses for like $25.
That's true.
Come on. And then the other thing on this was that I never played Mario Kart Tour, which is the mobile game, the mobile phone. That you play on your cellular device.
Right.
And 3 of the courses in this first batch of 8 are from that game. So to me, they might as well be new courses. So this is very exciting for me. True. Also, Choco Mountain, Coconut Mall, some other stuff is in there too.
Yep, and I think that money's it's definitely worth it for a bunch of new courses, a bunch of stuff. Even though it's an old game, it has value. So you should be able to...
Old games have value now? What are you talking about?
I'm just saying, it shouldn't be cheaper just because, it's an old game.
I don't know about this, man. I don't know if you can trust this discard guy. Opinions like that. All right.
And
what else?
So outside of that, which I do agree with you on, I think that's such a good deal. March 22nd, we have Rune Factory 5, which it's been a little while since Rune Factory 4 came out. Have you ever played a Rune Factory game?
It's a fantasy Harvest Moon. Per the box art of the first game.
Sort of.
But I've never
At least
I've never
half of it is
no.
that. And like it's like Rune Factory is like a farming simulator mixed with RPG and that kind of
dungeon crawling,
combat.
right? Like there's a little
dungeon crawling to an extent.
What is it called?
It's interesting because Rune Factory's taken on a lot of different forms over the years, and we had like Rune Factory 4, which is more of like a top-down version of Rune Factory, where it is a lot more farmer simulator type and dungeon crawly. But there was a game, I forget the exact name of it, but it was on the Wii. Rune Factory, I think in other countries they call it Oceans. Tides of Destiny, that's what it's called here in the U.S. And it was a 3D RPG, and it's incredible. It's like one of the best games that's on the Wii, in my opinion. It's absolutely one of the best. And I think you can get it on...
I'm looking it up.
You can get it on other consoles too, but it was just so fun, and there's so many different weird interactions that you could have with characters. Like you could like marry people in that game. You could go and fight monsters in that game. You could farm things up, and it just was a really fun game, and it looked cool, especially at the time on Wii too, because it was a really well done 3D version. So I'm hoping, and I know a lot of other people and professionals are looking at Rune Factory 5 and they're seeing kind of that kind of vibe to it. So it's very interesting. And I don't want to talk on it too much right now, but I know Rune Factory's been through kind of the ringer on the development end. I think at one point that studio was like shut down or something, and something happened, but I can't really say exactly that I know what happened there, but I'm glad that there's a Rune Factory 5. So that's exciting to me.
I mean, Xseed, the publisher, says that Rune Factory is their best performing franchise. So I don't know about that. That seems a little weird. Who developed?
Publisher's one thing.
Rune Factory 5. Marvelous. So Marvelous does the new Harvest Moon games, or the Story of Season games, I think. So it all kind of comes together, I think.
Yeah. Yep. And I think that's originally who made the one that I really liked, the Tides of Destiny. That's very good.
Yeah, it's right there. Well, that was developed by Neverland.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. And Marvelous,
possibly published by Marvelous.
Yeah.
I don't know. It gets very confusing when talking about Japanese developing,
especially deep in there. You get to these like tiny developers, and you're like, I can't believe this company's been making the games I love this whole time, and I didn't know their name. All I saw, or all I was able to see was Xseed or Marvelous or whatever is just stamped on the top of it. But these little companies exist. But that one's really exciting, especially for people into those like farming simulator mixed with, and it's not even like, when I say farming simulator, it wasn't even like that big of a part of the game. Like a lot of it was just like kind of like RPG combat and stuff, which is really neat. But that's the last one we have on our list for upcoming releases at the moment. That one was on the 22nd.
Oh, thank goodness. There's so many games coming out this month to buy, man. Ghostwire Tokyo and Kirby we're going to talk about next week, because they're both out on March 25th.
Oh my goodness.
They're going to both be fighting for my attention for sure. So we'll see.
Who's going to win that? I mean, if you were just to bet right now, who's going to...
Ghostwire Tokyo. Because... Well, the thing is with the Kirby game is you can pick it up and like put it down.
True.
With Ghostwire Tokyo, I'm going to be more likely to put in 5-6 hours that first, couple days, versus Kirby I'll probably put in 2 or 3. Not to say one's better than the other, but one lends itself more to kind of that on and off style.
And just for audio listeners at home, I just want everybody to know that there is a awesome cat here in the background of Shae's shot. It is
He's been driving me crazy all recording. Like he's running around, he's eating my mic cable, he's pooping in the other room, and it smells terrible, and I can't do anything about it because I can't get up right now.
Yep.
So,
I mean, we don't really know if that's a real cat, to be honest. It's just back there. Could be animatronic. We really have no idea.
He's real. Look over here. See? He's real.
I mean,
that's Toe Patch. That's Toe Patch.
I mean, people think that the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park were real too, but here we are. We have Discord questions is up next. Are you prepared for this one?
I am. I want to make sure that someone. I want to make sure that if someone is watching the YouTube video, that they go back and take a screenshot of the look that my cat was just giving the camera. Because you want to talk about memes coming from my video stream, we just got one, the cat face. All right. So questions from our Discord fans. You can put questions in the comments of the video, or you can join Discard's awesome Discord server, which is full of some of the most wonderful people I've ever had the pleasure of interacting with. Now, these questions, Discard, are directed primarily at you.
Yeah, and we're gonna kind of reorganize it. We're gonna get it so that we can both kind of answer this thing. There are very specific things in the later half of the question that maybe I just have to answer, but I think we're gonna take it on.
All right, so do you want to read out kind of the rewritten question that you have? Because this is from Watchman626, and he wants to know a little bit more about your process. So, but how did you reword the question?
Well, I didn't reword it, so here we are. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to read out this question as it was initially, and then we're going to kind of go through it, and each one of us can answer, because it's more on how you ended up getting started in this kind of gaming world. That's pretty much the question. But the question from Watchman626 is, I think it would be great to learn more about how Discard got started, even if it's just little bites of information that get tossed in here and there. Because I know that the Plus channel is to mostly be about the games themselves. I personally enjoy learning about the process just as much as the fun banter, and the podcast format I think is great for that type of information. It just gives y'all more subjects to go through. And so that's the first part of the question. And then part two was, what was the thought process idea that sparked the decision to build the channel about game collections and how you can display them? And third part was, how do you decide if a prop, display item, etc. is worth creating a video about and sharing on the channel? And I think that's pretty much where we can stop there. The first bit, I think, is more just a question of like how you got started, how I got started doing what I do. What we do generally is kind of, very different from each other. But I'm interested in hearing like how you started getting into talking about video games on specifically about podcasts. Like where was the beginning of that?
Yeah, well, when I started the Discard channel, primarily what I wanted to do was give people an opportunity to show off, their spaces, their game rooms, and really talk about, really cool stuff that you find out there in terms of game display. And that's really what it comes down to for me.
Well, I mean, you got Bombers. Like, how did you get started? Was Bombers your first podcast?
No, Bombers was not my first podcast. I've been doing this all the way back to like 2014. I was in college. I was trying to juggle a lot of stuff. I had this old group of
were you a clown?
Internet friends and.
You said you're juggling.
That was my third job.
Okay.
I was in college. I had a job, and I was also running a video game blog and a YouTube channel, which would we would produce videos that were basically just this. So we would just be on camera, just talking about games or whatever. Or actually, it would just be audio mostly. It was just something that I wanted to do. I love talking. I love talking about games. I love games. I love putting my opinions out there for people to dissect. So it was just kind of a natural thing for me. I listened to Nintendo Voice Chat and a bunch of other podcasts that were out there, and just took a lot of inspiration from those people. And I'm just like, you know what? I think I have interesting things to say. Maybe not. Maybe that's why I haven't gotten famous or anything like that. But I also haven't really tried. It's not really something that comes naturally to me, marketing myself and trying to make myself into this grand internet celebrity like so many YouTubers have successfully done. It's just not something that really interests me. I'm just here for the games, man. I'm just here to talk about the games.
Yeah, I think like people like you are missed a lot of the time because you, like you said, you're not the marketing YouTuber guy who like is the other side of the story too. Like, YouTubers aren't necessarily the best people when it comes to analyzing video games, even though like over time they can become really good at it because just of repetition and what is the old 10,000 hour rule with doing anything.
You do something for 10,000 hours, you're officially an expert at it or something along those lines.
And I do find that is kind of true. I mean, somebody who's done something for 10,000 hours could have a lot of knowledge in certain areas outside of what I have done in those things too. But yeah, I think because you have to do so many different things to become a YouTube channel. You got to know how to use, all these pieces of equipment, or you have to know how to upload things properly to fit the YouTube algorithm. You know, the actual experts might not be there. They might be just blogging on a website somewhere, you know?
So for you, you know, what was the extra push that gave you the desire to go into making YouTube videos? Because there is a lot more effort required, which is primarily why I don't do it, is, you know, just editing a video like this that we're doing right now. I can't even imagine how many hours you're putting into it. You know, it takes me maybe an hour and a half to edit an episode of Bombers, and I'll throw maybe a little couple neat things in there. And I have my own duties as a member of that organization. Like, we're literally a company, so I have to, you know, maintain those duties. But apart from that, like, I'm really not putting a ton of effort into what I'm quote unquote creating. I just show up and I give my authentic opinion, and that's it.
So the core.
What about you though?
The core is a lot of stress. That's what really made this channel happen. When I was, my son was like, my wife was pregnant with my son, and I was in a point in my life where I was like, I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what's going to happen to me. And I don't know how I'm going to be in the future. And so what I do when I'm under really stressful environments like that is I try to do something. Whatever it is, I'm going to throw myself into it and kind of use that as a way of coping, a way of like thinking about things. If you do things repetitively, it can kind of help you think about stuff. So I built a shelf, and the shelf in the back of my videos behind me in those videos, not this, but is something I hand built. And our entire garage was pieces of wood. And I don't usually do this. You know, this is not something I do all the time, make shelves and stuff. But I spent a lot of time just figuring out all the perfect sizing for my different games that I had. I wanted to display all my games on this shelf with no intention to make any channel or video. And after I had done that, and I had searched for a lot of information when it came to displaying games and setting up a game room and all of this, I found that there was a lack of that. There was really nothing. We had My Life in Gaming had a video dedicated to that,
one video,
yeah,
not
there was
like an entire channel.
There was definitely no channels that were completely dedicated to this. Even today, there's only maybe one other channel. Top Spot 123 is one of the only other channels that really fully covers this. And even on his channel, he has a little bit more variety to what he does. But so I found that there was none of that. And historically, my entire life, I've made videos. I made videos when I was a kid. First video I ever made was on like an iMac, and I made like roller skating down the road and jumping over something because I thought that was cool. I put it in slow motion, you know.
Put that at the end of this video.
I wish I still somewhere I have a, what are they called, high 8 tape that has like all of that stuff on it and like the full video. That's back when you like edited from like the tape like directly, and it was super crazy. But so I've always made videos. So I was like, you know what? I'll try to make a video with all the ideas that I have, and I'll just put it out there. So if somebody needs that information and if it helps them or inspires them, I'll do that. So I did that, and those videos did okay. I also did reviews for games and stuff, a lot of indie games, a lot of stuff from Nippon Ichi Software because they were giving out codes at the time. I have a Mario plus Rabbids review out there. Did 5 views or something in like 3 years. And, I did that alongside this stuff because I just didn't feel like it was as doable to talk about displaying stuff all the time. I felt like I was going to run out of stuff. Now here I am 5 years later after doing all that stuff, and I've still not run out of content for talking about game rooms and displaying stuff. But it was just really the stress of like not knowing what the future is and having a kid on the way and just kind of wanting to throw myself into something that kind of turned into this like giant project in my eyes. It wasn't like a career move or like something that was like super selfish. It was more like I can do this and I can inspire people and I can give them ideas. And, even if they walk away from the video with nothing for their game room, then they can have, just that little inkling to like kind of look into displaying their games and getting that other use out of their games outside of just putting it into your closet and just closing up a thing. And then, 50 years later, your grandson finds it and sells it to the local shop or something. I feel like game art is part of the equation. Physical games are part of the equation, and you lose a lot of that with digital media. But that's a whole nother conversation. But that's how that became started. And I hope that answers the question. I think that's most of the
that pretty much answers the complete question. The one thing is, how do you decide if a prop or display or whatever is worth creating a video about? What is your your thought process on just creating any sort of content around anything?
So when it comes to stuff, it has to be good. That's it. For the rule.
Well, then why are we on this? Why are we making this podcast?
Well, this
then?
is
I have
good.
to ask.
I enjoy talking
question.
about video.
All right, whatever.
You're
Whatever
good,
you say.
Shae. I'm keeping you. But
oh man, I don't.
I think so when it comes to like a physical item, I go through a lot of stuff. I have like hundreds of dollars that have been spent on stuff I will never talk about ever. Stuff that I couldn't return, and is just like a waste of my time and money. And I only want to put stuff on the channel that is going to be beneficial to somebody. And you can look at aesthetics of things, right? You look at stuff and you're like, oh, that's not for me. It doesn't look cool. But if it works well and it's cool for somebody else, that it can be on the show. But stuff that like breaks or just doesn't hold up the game properly or just doesn't make any sense like financially overall. I do have very expensive stuff sometimes, and I'm like, this is for that audience. This is for that guy who wants that like $100 display stand that just knocks people's socks off. They want that one thing to be the thing that like speaks for everything in the room. But it has to appeal to somebody. It has to be a quality. It can't damage the cartridges. I'll sit there in front of my TV just inserting a cartridge over and over after I've taken a close-up photo of like the inside of a cartridge so that I can see if it's been scratched on the copper contacts like too much. Like Cinco Play stands hold onto those contacts, so I had to spend an extra large amount of time going through those and just sitting there doing this over and over again, inserting these cartridges to see if they'd get damaged. And I hate the idea of somebody coming back to me and being like, hey, like this thing that you told me was good just destroyed my collection or something, Like I hate that idea. So you'll probably
if you ever want to know how to get under Discard's skin, you just learned it. Yeah. But I personally appreciate the effort that you put into that stuff because there have been a couple of things display cases and things of that nature that I've purchased based on your recommendations, and
they were terrible.
I can confirm. Yes, but I can confirm that you did the research and you told me that they were terrible, so I knew what I was getting into.
That is a problem, I think, though. Like maybe I should be making content that is about the stuff that's bad. Like I don't know. I understand. Like it's like from
the question is do you lose? Like, are they sending you this stuff to review, or are you just grabbing it and reviewing it yourself? Because if there's a sponsorship associated with it, you got to be careful and not cut off those sponsors.
Well, I mean, if somebody sends me something, I will make a video about it. That's definitely like what happens. If it's a display thing and they're sending it to me, I'll make a video about it, and I will say every negative possible thing that exists with the thing. In those videos. But if it's something that I pick up and I'm like, oh, what was I thinking? Like this is trash. I'm not going to make a video on this thing and be like, hey, warning, there's this weird niche, toothpick holder that you shouldn't be using for your Game Boy games, And that just seems like the way it is with Game Boy games. Like they fit into, weird nail polish displays and funky things. But I also just want the channel to be kind of a list of good stuff. Like people go there and they click on a video and they know they're going to find stuff that like at least works for what they're looking for. Yeah. I think that's it. I think that answers. Hopefully that's what you wanted, Watchman626. I mean, we can always go into more detail in the Discord server, which people should check out.
Yeah, I mean, I think the odds are fairly good that if you're watching this video or listening to this podcast, you probably know about the Discord server already, since that's primarily where we're doing our promotion for this thing. But at the same time, it never hurts to hang out in there a little bit more. Multiple posts have happened since we started recording, and I can't wait to go read them. And I don't know. I don't have anything else to say. Is this podcast over? We don't have a sign-off yet.
We don't have a sign-off. Do you have what if you were to say you were going to recommend a game right now, just off the top of your head, any game, like what game do you recommend at this exact moment?
At this exact moment,
they have to play it. They need to play it. This game is like required for their like understanding of video games. This is a big deal. Don't just gloss over this, man.
You're moving the goalposts all over the place.
Oh my gosh! You know what? This podcast is over. I think we should end it.
It's blue, and I'm going to prove it.